Well, hello there, how is everyone? I hope you're all well. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, and this is video 1 of 2. So, at the moment, there is only this one. Unless, depending on what time. Because if you've only... I don't know. I don't even know where to go from this point. But I will be uploading 2 videos today. So, let's get straight into the meat and potatoes. So, we've got 2 things to talk about in this video. One, there are new court documents. So we talk about them first, shall we? So new court documents say that there's going to be a hearing. It would appear that this hearing is referencing new evidence. So it'll be interesting to find out what gets gagged next, because there's not a hope in hell of us even seeing anything to do with this, I would imagine. Who knows? Who knows what will happen? Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But yeah, there's a hearing. It would seemingly be around new evidence. And in addition to that, we also have a situation where the prosecution are attacking the stay. For those of you who are unaware, which I doubt there's many of you, it was actioned that there would be a stay referencing the time for a speedy trial, which means that what happens in this situation is that the defendant is entitled to a speedy trial, which gives a time frame of 6 months. That means that the trial has to start within 6 months of the start period. So get everything together, trial starts 6 months. Due to the prosecution dragging their heels and not giving information when it was requested and then sending stuff, and the defence had to say, no, that's not what we want, we actually want this, or you're not giving this, and this backwards and forwards tennis match, they eventually got the access to the stuff what they wanted. But there's an abundance of it, and that's going to take time. So the judge quite kindly said, look, because of this situation, we will delay that part, or we will put a pause on this proportion. Everything else carries on going. Every single other element of this process carries on as is. But with regards to the speedy trial time frame, we're going to freeze that. And we're going to freeze it for, I believe it was either 27 or 37 days. Not long, just a few days to give the defence time to go over it. And it would appear that the prosecution are now challenging that. Now, Peter Tragus, that gorgeous man, happy anniversary, you beautiful person. And you too, Whitney. And look, what I will say is, look, so this was thrown. They're attacking it. Now, he called this out. He called it out because he said that there could be problems around this holding and pausing and this, because ultimately the defendant is entitled to the speedy trial. And if there's anything that happens in this process that pushes that beyond that period, there is a potential that can be pulled up later and utilised, potentially even for a case dismissal if it overruns. Now, I think he said that this was likely to cause an issue, and yes, it has, because what the prosecution are now saying is, hold on a second, mate, we're going to nip this in the bud right now before it becomes a problem later on down the line. Before it becomes a problem, we'll nip it in the bud now. If he wants to waiver his right to a speedy trial altogether and get it done properly, then we'll do that. But if it's staying like this and he's not wavering his right, he wants a speedy trial, then so be it. He can get his eggs and ducks in a row in that time frame, and we'll stick to it. So later on down the line, we don't have a situation unlike other cases where this has caused an issue. Now, some people will read into that. I could certainly read into it and say, well, this is just the prosecution turning around and saying they don't want to give them the time to look over that documentation. And, you know, there's part of me that wants to say that, but I also have to be respectful of the fact that I did listen to what Peter said when he went over it, and I'm acutely aware that this was likely to happen because of the problems that it can cause later on down the line. And I think the court, in terms of the defence, they have been quite accommodating. So we'll see how this pans out. We'll see what Judge decides. But ultimately, they do need the time to go over that documentation right, you know, and I do feel that they're now potentially caught between the devil and deep blue sea, because they need the time. But if this now gets withdrawn, this period of time, will they have enough time? And does that mean then that if they can't do it in time, that the defence will have to completely waiver their right to a speedy trial? And then we will definitely see a delay. But again, I believe Peter said that he didn't see this trial happening in October as planned anyway. And this could indeed now start to be the catalyst of this unravelling and becoming a much more drawn out process. Watch this space. Anyway, point number 2, we have mainstream media, or the media, going back balls deep in the smear campaign. The smear campaign, that is, Bryan Kohberger had violent tendencies. He got anger issues, apparently. Now, it would appear that, I believe it's ABC, they've been going and speaking to students around campus and talking specifically to people who want to remain anonymous. That's the only reason, or the only thing that would allow them to, you know, come up and speak about these things, as if they were allowed to remain completely anonymous. I don't blame them. But what they're saying is that Bryan Kohberger hassled this girl. Hassled her and hassled her and hassled her. He wanted to go out of her, and kept going and going and going, getting rebuffed, and he would get upset. I even went as far as to say his face would turn red and his knuckles would become white with anger. That's what Kohberger would do. He would get that angry. He would also break protocol by sitting in his office with the door shut, which was against the rules. Not allowed to do that. But yeah, they've gone sort of hard in the paint as well, with respect of that he was rude, condescending to females of authority, you know, the female professors. If we back up a bit, we did hear other female professors talk about Bryan Kohberger. Now, they didn't remain anonymous. They actually came out and gave their names. And they said that Bryan Kohberger was one of the best students that they'd ever taught. He always remained utterly professional and was in fact one of the best students. Did I just say that? But one of the best students she'd ever taught, and one of only 2 that had been put forward for the doctoral program. So, doctorate program. I'll get there in a minute. But you get my point. So we've got anonymous people who are coming forward and saying that he was this, that and the other, but then we've got people who give their names, they're okay with them knowing who I am, and saying that Bryan Kohberger was professional, respectful, and one of the best students that they've had. So I don't know what to believe. But yeah, that's kind of the latest information. So mainstream media continuing their smear campaign. I don't know. When they talk shit about someone with no actual proof of it, and their excuse is that people want to remain anonymous, and the courts. So another hearing coming up, new evidence potentially, and a halt likely on the stay. So they're going to stop the stay. I'll catch you in video 2.